while we're waiting for everybody to get here, I'll just read a bit from the selection that I picked on the blog today. It's from Matthew. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? And there's a lot of interesting information in here, but we're not gonna dive into it tonight. Except for this part. When some of those standing there heard this, they said, he's calling Elijah. Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge. He filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink. The rest said, now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him. And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. When the centurion and those who were with him were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that had happened, they were terrified and exclaimed, surely he was the Son of God. Matthew 27:45 through 54. Now, I know that you have heard me make correct predictions about things being false before. And as I've explained, there is a way that people write that is natural, and there's a way that people write that is very unnatural. And a good editor, a good writer, finds it very easy to distinguish these things. For example, when people are telling lies, when they're trying to describe things that didn't happen, providing a false account of something, quite often they will resort to dialogue that they've heard before, usually that they've heard before from the movies. And sometimes it's downright comical. The somebody saying stuff from movies from the 50s, you got me, you dirty rat, that kind of stuff. There's no way, they report people saying things that nobody has said in 40 years or whatever. The fascinating thing about the Bible is that there's so much of it that, despite the fact that it's sometimes talking about things that are difficult to credit and difficult to believe, the verisimilitude of the stuff that people say really sounds genuinely convincing. I mean, it sounds like real speech. I once, there's a section in A World in Shadow, some dialogue between a guy and a girl talking. And it's really interesting because I took it verbatim from an actual conversation that was taking place in the coffee shop where I was writing at the time between a teenage guy and a teenage girl. And it's so inane. The guy was saying something like, I like pants. It was just awkward and weird and real. And, it always struck me as a little bit odd when I was a kid. But now that I'm an editor, now that I'm a writer, now that I've become a fairly accomplished stylistic mimic, I read that and it just sounds like somebody writing down what people say. Who makes up stuff like that? He says something that sounds kind of dramatic, and then some yahoos are like, he's calling for Elijah. Why is he doing that? You know, it's very realistic. It's the kind of thing that you actually hear people saying when they're relating events that they've seen. So anyhow, I just, given that it is Good Friday, given that as Christians it's a date that we remember, revere, and hold sacred, I think it behooves us to at least mention it.